Greetings to all fans of Italian football and Inter Milan in particular. Welcome to the 39th episode of the podcast Nerazzurri Talks. We are meeting here after a relatively short time, so today it will be a shorter special. We will share a few news items about Inter. How the Nerazzurri fared at the national team gatherings. We will briefly outline some finances and we will delve deeper into them again sometime in the future. Drasto, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
So, from what has happened recently, let's have some flash updates at the beginning. So, apparently, Akanji will permanently transfer to Inter in the summer, which again threatens Jaro Bisseck's position. So, information is starting to spread that Bisseck might leave already this winter. Eintracht or Crystal Palace are interested, with Inter demanding at least 35 million. For me, I'll just add that Bisseck should definitely stay because with our older players, center backs, I think he will still play. There is a pretty high probability that he will still get on the field, and he has the quality to play for Inter. And furthermore, an interesting fact is that by the year 2025, Barella has played the most minutes among all players in Serie A. So that just underscores what a pillar of the team he is. We are facing a big derby, tough match against AS Roma this Saturday. Roma will be missing Ancelino, who is recovering from bronchitis, but winger Wesley is returning and Dybala should also be back. Inter will still be without Thuram and Darmian is also injured. And then regarding the finances, briefly, Inter made a profit for the first time last season as the Champions League and the Club World Cup brought them profits of approximately 168 million, which which makes up approximately 30% of the total sales profits of 567 million for the fiscal year 24-25. The net profit was 35.4 million, whereas the year before we had a loss of 35.7 million. The value of the club increased by 70 million, and all of this is also related to the fact that the general meeting of Inter shareholders approved investments in infrastructure of approximately 100 million. And what's also new is that the company Brookfield actually entered Oaktree Capital, buying 26%. So they became the majority owner. But for Inter, it should basically not mean any changes. We will get to these investments and finances sometime in the future. That's Orastio's area, and let's go back to football for a bit now.
I would just correct that. It's not that Brookfield entered Oaktree, but rather bought the remaining shares. So now it is a 100% owner because Brookfield has actually had them for a long time. But yes, well. They bought those 26%. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. Maybe just a tidbit that UEFA has started an investigation into Juventus for violating the fair play rule.
Again, Juventus,
look, they spend like crazy on that team. After all, they have money. Well, and mainly their owners keep putting some small change into Juventus's capital funds, in quotes. So because of that, the fair play rules or financial fair play are getting stricter year by year. Well, they will be investigated because of that, but like nothing is escalating or anything. But there will probably be a fine because their revenues weren't as high as ours since they didn't play in the Champions League for a year. And overall, in recent years, they haven't been able to place high in the Champions League. So their revenues are lower and they are buying players for quite a lot of money.
So because of that, yeah.
Hey, so that probably doesn't surprise anyone anymore. So that was still about the finances, and we had, or rather, now the international breaks have ended. What did you watch from that, and how well have you observed our players?
I primarily watched the Italian national team. I also saw our team against Luxembourg. I simply didn't watch the match against Northern Ireland because I forgot they were playing. So fortunately, I missed that.
Hey, that was lucky for you. I mean, because it was.
Fortunately, I missed it. Yeah.
I haven't seen such a poor performance from a team I support as in this match of the Slovak.
Well, maybe yes, I don't know. This I say I didn't see, but I saw the match Italy, Estonia, and Italy, Israel. Then I saw ours against Luxembourg. Then I saw the Netherlands against Malta, and that was probably all I watched. But of course, I followed the results. I also saw that our Czech brothers lost on the islands to the Faroe Islands 2-1. So the coach was dismissed there a long time ago. So these results are quite interesting, right?
Well, those Czechs, that's an even bigger mess than ours. And let's talk about the Inter squad. Who are currently the national team players who had those national duties? So for the Swiss, Manuel Akanji, then for the Italians represented Bastoni, Dimarco, Barella, and as substitutes Fratesi and Esposito.
Well, he scored a goal, so he scored a goal. Well, Pio.
Hey, we'll get to that. Thuram is out. He missed the national team gathering. Lautaro Martinez, of course, for Argentina. Sucic for Croatia. Zidinski for Poland. Carlos Augusto was called up, I think, after 2 years again to the Brazilian national team. And for the Dutch, Dumfries and Defrey, but I think Defrey didn't play at all. And Denzel, he played the whole matches. I have that feeling. So of course, as Joshua correctly already said, Esposito scored his first goal for the national team. I saw that goal, or rather here, I watched that match, and it was a beautiful play and a beautiful finish.
Well, overall, because for the Italian national team, the backbone is currently our Inter players, as against Estonia. 5 Inter players played together. So actually, Fratesi came off the bench and Pio Esposito played the whole match since Moisekin got injured. Well, I have to say that they played very well, and I finally liked it that Gennaro Gattuso gives them such freedom, not just to ours, but to Italians in general. It's a pity that the match in Norway ended as it did, because the playoffs will still be quite interesting.
Well, only if by chance the Norwegians slip up somehow.
Well, they will have Estonia, so only if they draw there. And then it would be a match for everything. Well, it's a pity that the rules are set up so that goal difference decides not head-to-head matches, and because of that the Norwegians had an incredible qualification. Well, the opponents weren't that tough, but scoring 11 goals against Moldova is not something you see every day. 12, 11 or 12, I don't remember exactly now, but they just have a score of 21. That's unbelievable.
Well, simply put, Holland is doing his thing.
Well, if only that, but also Sorloth is doing his thing, and others, like the Norwegian generation, is quite strong now, and anyone was. Well, I expected that the Italians would finally qualify directly, but that match in Norway was a disaster.
Hey, I think the Italians played really badly there. And they first played in Estonia, where Italy won 1-3. Moiskan scored a quick goal after an assist from our Dimarco, and then actually had to be substituted in the 15th minute. So Francesco Esposito came onto the field and then scored the third goal to increase it to 0-3. So
Pio Esposito was quite praised for how he played, and I quite like that he is so agile, runs, presses, and his shots have eyes.
Hey, I read a comparison. I don't know exactly. I think it was one of those Italian coaches who compared him to your favorite or our Christian Vieri. Vieri was also someone who could knock balls down to teammates and use those physical attributes and, of course, score goals.
Yes, well, I read Gazzetta dello Sport. They tried to compare him there, and Christian Vieri was one of those players. Then there was Altobelli, who was also an Inter legend, and they also compared him to Bettega because he has a bit of vision and can pass in the penalty area. So it's a mix of all those legends, and he probably has to go probably his own way, but it's nice that besides being a classic number 9, as I said, he is very hardworking and also has quite good ideas and passes in the opponent's third, so it's great.
No, Bastonisa, he saw a yellow card in that match in Estonia. So then, due to the yellow card suspension, he did not play in Israel. That is in the match against Israel. The Italians comfortably defeated Israel at home 3-0, with Retegui scoring 2 goals and Mancini scoring 1. Dimarco again had an assist for the last goal, so he continues to have great statistics this season.
Well, Dimarco, as the Nova commentator said, he plays incredibly, like he's gotten back into such form and his productivity is unbelievable that even in the national team and for Inter, he has, I think, 2+5 for us already. This year he scores 2 + 3. But again, in Italy, you have some more assists. So he is quite productive for being a defender, specifically a wing back.
Well, Davide Fratesi will probably be less satisfied as he hasn't played much yet, just like at Inter. So against Estonia, he played only 13 minutes, and against Israel, he didn't get on the field at all. So he is one of the few players for whom the national team gathering didn't bring much joy. On the other hand, Zielinski, whom we criticized for Inter, decided the victory for the Poles.
That was the match. Now I forgot with whom. With New Zealand. There, Poland won 1-0.
The only goal was scored by Zielinski, and he played the entire match against Lithuania, so he enjoyed the national team. Similarly, Hakan Calhanoglu had an excellent national team gathering and also has outstanding statistics within the Turkish national team. And now in both matches also against Bulgaria, where the Turks won 1-6, also at home with Georgia, where they won 4-1. He recorded 2 assists.
But it's great that he also got back into such form and is again where he was maybe a few months ago. He was also, I think, injured, or rather not in 100% physical condition, and it was a bit noticeable. So I'm happy that our Hakan is back.
Hey, did you watch the match between the Czechs and the Croatians?
I haven't really followed it much either, because just as I used to look forward to the national team, now I feel like I watch the club scene much more and the national team a bit less. And I'm starting to understand why, when I think about hockey, why Canadians and Americans follow the NHL more.
And the championship doesn't interest them that much.
So now it's also a bit like that for me, that the qualification is a bit less interesting for me. And I'm more praying that our players don't get injured and come back in good shape.
As we are already so saturated with football and there is so much club football, then the national team probably really takes a bit of a backseat to...
And you know what?
Maybe it's me, but recently I was looking at some statistics about how many games players played, let's say 20 years ago. and the difference isn't that big, like 2 more games. In Europe now, in the league phase already, but generally there is a relatively small difference, mainly there. The biggest problem was that they don't have a break in the summer because the Euro was postponed by a year, and then it all somehow came together like that.
Hey, and I asked about the Czech Republic, because Croatia match mainly because Petar Sučić played in the midfield set alongside Modric, and I think played the whole match and was well rated.
As I followed this, like somehow visually, I saw yes that he played, but I think on SofaScore. But otherwise, I'm saying I didn't see the match. So, but he was well rated. Well, it's nice that the Croatian presence remains in Inter, and we have another representative there again.
And it seems that exceptionally high quality despite the young age.
Well, actually, when you think about it, even Brozovic came at a young age and quite broke through in the national team. So that's a kind of replacement. I would also say that Sučić is a better upgrade compared to Brozovic.
Yeah, it seems that way to me too.
Well, and the captain of Inter, Lautaro Martinez, played the entire match for Argentina against Venezuela and recorded an assist for the only goal. And against Puerto Rico, which Argentina crushed 6-0. He came on for the last half hour, and that was enough for him to score twice and actually move up to a shared 4th position.
One of the best Argentine scorers in history with big names ahead of him. So,
well, Argentina is a huge national team. So so I think that they also underscores Lautaro's performances and his career overall, just how he is, and what a great player he is. Because being 4th in Argentina is a big deal, and he is also among the top with us, and in a few years he could easily become the 2nd best scorer in history. Maybe if he had some more impressive seasons with us, he might climb to 1st place, but we'll see. In any case, it's great.
By the way, an interesting fact. Do you know what was Lautaro's longest absence streak at Inter? So how long was he out of play?
Do you mean days or matches?
In the days.
Phew, I can't say. 13?
17.
Well, I was close.
17 days was the longest he was out of play. So
I was close.
When you think about it, yes, he doesn't get injured often, even though he was last season, but really it's an incredible streak that he's basically always playing, and he plays a lot of those matches. So yes.
All over the world, because if you think about it, that flight to Latin America, that's 13,000 kilometers or so. It's unbelievable that he goes from Milan to Argentina, plays matches there, and then basically, in quotes, from the airport from Argentina, he flies back and goes straight to play a match. That's brutal. And actually, since you mentioned it, I'll follow up on that, Rajan. I saw a video with him. Inter met it in last year. I think it was at the beginning of the year. Well, and there he actually talked about how he wants to play for Inter even when he is simply injured, because it's everything to him. And actually, he also mentioned that championship in the year 2022. So also that if he wanted, he could say he was injured and wouldn't play for Inter in the fall or the end of the fall, but he just didn't want to leave Inter in the lurch. So he played. And then at the championship, I think his ankle wasn't completely 100% fit, which then showed in his performances that they weren't completely 100%.
Hey, so it's also a continuing generation of Argentinians who have grown fond of Inter.
We are like a second Argentina because the number of players who have played for us is incredible.
All right, so we mentioned the Italians, the Argentine. we mentioned the Brazilian who was represented by Carlos Augusto. He started in the match against Japan, where Brazil shockingly lost 3-2.
I think they were winning 2-0, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, they were winning 2-0 at halftime, and in the end they lost. So
That's sad.
that's not such a good sign for our player. And then he was substituted. Well, he went off in the 75th minute. But it's good that he returned to the national team. And who haven't we mentioned in more detail yet? Well, that's the Dutch. I mentioned that one of them didn't play at all. He didn't get into the game, and Denzel Dumfries played both matches completely and recorded an assist in the 4-0 victory against Malta.
Well, I quite liked him there. As I said, I was only watching with one eye, but I quite liked Denzel there. So it was fine. For me, it's interesting that Frimpong is there and Denzel doesn't let him into the starting lineup. So that says something.
Well, I was quite surprised that they both played against Malta.
Only Frimpong played higher up. As if Nika and Denzel were winging.
Well, I think that in his pose, he
Hey, that basically for the coach to somehow resolve it with both, he moved Frimpong higher up. And that also shows the form of Denzel Dumfries is in.
And I'm quite glad for him because he's actually from Aruba, which is a small island in South America. And I also read a post about him recently that at one time he was offered to represent Aruba, but he refused. And they told him he was crazy, thinking he would ever play for the Dutch national team. That was actually still in his very beginnings when he thought he would never play football at a professional level. And you see, in the end, he joined PSV and is having an incredible career with us. So I'm happy for him too.
Hey, and when you saw those Dutch matches, their central defensive pair, well, we probably don't need to talk much about Van Dijk, but is Timber such a good defender that he keeps off the field?
Well, I don't know. Malta had quite a few chances there. Well, okay, the quality of finishing is another matter, but they were able to create chances, especially when it was 0-0. So I don't know, the center-back duo from the Premier League wasn't completely, I would say, 100%. So I don't know. I liked it more when the duo was Van Dijk and... Well, for one, they are well coordinated, but also it seemed to me that there was a bit more quality.
Hey, that surprises me a little too. And Manuel Akanji played 2 full matches for the Swiss, and the Swiss didn't concede in either match. So that's also a nice record for our player. He received a yellow card against the Swedes, but the Swedes, even with that attacking duo, Isaac Dekeresh, did not succeed. So that is also a very nice testament to the Swiss defense.
I was watching, and those Swedes are not only catastrophic in the standings, but I also thought that because they actually have that playoff spot secured, and I was thinking about whether maybe he's putting in some players just to test them, because he knows that the playoff is probably nothing and that he'll let it go. But when I saw that both Isaac and were in the starting lineup, he wants to call him because he's Swedish and might forget his Hungarian roots. Well, but actually both played that match and the match before and the match before that, and somehow they can't score a goal.
They can't when they didn't even hit the goal against the Swiss for the entire match.
Well, I don't really know that much, but it's interesting that there are still 2 such huge stars, and that I think in the summer Arsenal and Liverpool paid a total of about 220 million euros for them, and so far not much. Well, but maybe one last question. Do you think that Slovakia Italy and the Czech Republic will eventually advance from the playoffs, or rather that Slovakia has the greatest chance to qualify directly for the championship, but it will still be difficult.
It also depends on how it turns out, right? If it will be the playoffs, who will be the opponent then?
Slovaks definitely have the quality for it, but at the same time, we are too small a team to handle the absence of players like Hansko and Lobotka without issues. So a lot will depend on the condition of the squad.
Regarding the Czechs, we'll see if change of coach benefits or helps them somehow. But overall, I don't have the feeling from their current lineup that there's that much quality. And were you asking about the Italians third?
Yes, because we both probably assume that they won't qualify directly, since Norway will likely beat Estonia, and then they would really have to win in a brutal way to score 14, 15, or maybe even more goals, which is probably unrealistic. We'll see by how much the Norwegians beat these Estonians.
So it's probably like 99% unrealistic for them to get into from the group, so they will more or less face a playoff.
Hey, well, for the Italians who were supposed to win that group, then the playoffs must be a necessity, no matter who they get.
Well, clearly the team has it in them, but the year 2018 probably shook them, or rather 17 shook them. So you see actually the qualification before that, when they actually won the Euro, they had a quality team and it just didn't work out, not even in terms of gameplay, but more mentally, as they missed penalties against the Swiss, that Jorginho back then.
Well, and then actually that collapse against North Macedonia, when I saw that they got Portugal as their potential opponent in the decisive match, I was already thinking whether they would even get past North Macedonia if their minds were already on the match against Norway. And in the end, it turned out that they didn't make it. So I am more concerned about it, because I think we can agree that Italy has an exceptionally strong team and belongs in the championship. It's just whether they can handle it mentally.
Yes, definitely. When I currently look at which teams are in those second positions, which will presumably play against each other in the playoffs, well, so far it's the Slovaks in second place. In Group B, Kosovo, I was quite surprised that they are ahead of both Slovenia and Sweden, but actually they have quite a good record this year, or in the last few matches they have won a lot. In Group C, the Danes and Scots will almost certainly fight for the first place. Then in the group, it's Ukraine. For now, it seems they could take the second place in the group. The Turks are clear there. In Group F, apparently the Hungarians, but the Irish and Armenians are within reach. It's a fairly balanced group. In Group G, Poland should end up in the playoffs, and in Group H, Bosnia. Then in Group Y, we talked about Norwegians and Italians in the first two places. In Group E, it's after Belgium.
On the second place, perhaps a bit surprisingly, is North Macedonia.
And he doesn't even want North Macedonia to go around Italy.
Yes, it is. In Group K, the Albanians are currently second, but the Serbs could also end up there. These two countries will compete. And in Group L, behind the dominant Croatians are the Czechs. Just behind them are the Faroe Islands. Given the group they are in, it would be quite embarrassing for the Czechs if they didn't at least make it to the playoffs.
Well, they advance to the playoffs because they will actually play against Gibraltar. So I think it's as clear as day that they will have those 16 points. And Actually, for the Croatians, they will get a point and they're there.
That's true, but against the Faroe Islands, it wasn't expected that the Czechs would lose.
But the Faroe Islands are still miles away from Gibraltar.
And that's the truth. So there. Well, when I imagine those opponents, and we'll see how those pairs will come together. Then it's also interesting that because of the new system, so
Even San Marino can play in the playoffs because of this UEFA Nations League.
Because of the Nations League. Yeah, that's the paradox, that they actually need to lose by a large margin now, right?
Well, that they need to lose by 3 goals and
They will be there. It's just, I don't know, the system is completely weird, really.
obviously, yes, when it creates such situations.
I'll say it like this. Maybe the qualification for this championship is okay because the first and second advance, but for the Euro, where 24 teams go, and then you also have those UEFA Nations League spots, the playoff. I remember that when we had that qualification, not here yet, what was now, but before we didn't win anything at all, but because of the UEFA Nations League, we actually played in the playoff. We actually didn't care how it would turn out. And actually from our playoffs last year, both Bosnia and I think Luxembourg also played in the playoffs about the Euro. So those are the kind of qualifications where even the groups are weaker when you think about it, because they will still have that second chance. And maybe that's why the audience interest in the national team is a bit lower, and that's why they are trying to change it a bit.
Guys, well, we'll find out how it all turns out in about a month, since this qualification is quite packed together. So basically in a month, the next matches will be played. So we will keep our fingers crossed for the Slovaks, Czechs, and Italians, hoping it turns out as well as possible. And ideally, we would like to see all 3 of these mentioned countries at the championships.
Exactly. And a small detail, I don't know if you noticed, but Marko Arnautovic is like a reborn Adam Bogdan in an incredible way. Tomáš is actually a bit annoyed that he couldn't score into empty nets for us, and now for Red Star Belgrade and also for Austria, he's just scoring hat tricks. It's unbelievable.
I caught something like that for the Austrians. I don't know if he didn't score even 4 goals or how many in that one match.
Even though it was San Marino, still Arnautovic scoring 4 goals is something really. If someone had told me that a year ago, I would have...
I don't believe it.
But yeah. Well, yes, Austria, San Marino, 10-0, 4 goals, including Arnautovic.
The day after the defeat.
By the way, it was like this, that one weekend, I think it was when all those who left, including Arnautovic, Taremi, and Aslani, played a good match. They scored goals right after leaving Inter.
Well, what can you do? It doesn't matter. We probably won't cry over them. Maybe I regret that they were with us at all, but what can you do? Well, it doesn't matter.
So that the international break is behind us. Along with it, which we have evaluated, this shorter episode of our podcast is also behind us. So again, thank you to everyone who listened all the way here and continue to support us.
We are looking forward to the Italian Classic also from Rome, Inter. So I believe that we will manage it and confirm the form we have at Stadio Olimpico.
Well, in the last 5 matches, Inter won 4 times, but last time we lost at home to Roma 0-1. So now we have something to repay them for.
Hey, actually, we have the title there. So, Forza Inter.